At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
This is The Sit Down with Russ Latino, where we explore the ideas and people that are shaping Mississippi's future. Germaine, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I am excellent. I ran 2 miles at lunch.
You ran 2 miles at lunch?
Power walk 2 miles at lunch.
Were bears chasing you?
No, that treadmill.
No, you just were like, I'm going to grind this out.
Yeah, that treadmill belt chased me.
That's impressive. You have been busting your butt. I'm really proud of you.
I have. I'm 50. I did a video. I'll show you, after the end of the show. I'm 50 pounds from this time last year.
Okay. Wow.
50 pounds down.
That is impressive.
Yes, I'm excited.
So I am wearing a shirt today, Germaine, that no human being should ever wear.
No, it's a Darbs.
No grown man should ever wear something.
Look at all them. What
of
are
this color and fleur-de-lis?
Yeah, fleur-de-lis.
Of this color and pattern. But it's that time of year.
Let the good times roll.
Look, we have talked about this before. I am at heart a New Orleans guy. I've lived in Mississippi most of my life.
I'm at heart a New Orleans girl, and I've never lived in Louisiana.
But I was born outside of New Orleans. I went to Tulane for undergrad. I got a lot of family from that New Orleans area originally. A lot of family from Biloxi and the Gulf Coast as well, which we've talked about on the program. But this time of year, I have now lived away from Louisiana and the Gulf Coast longer than I lived on it, but it's still home.
Yeah.
And this time of year in particular, with Mardi Gras happening, like we used to get out for Mardi Gras from school.
I know.
Like people are like, can't wrap their brains around that.
I lived in Gulfport.
It was like, hey, let's not do school for a week because it's Mardi Gras. I remember being a little kid, like decorating shoe boxes like floats and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy part of like growing up.
And you can't take it away. That's why you got the shirt on today. You can't get that out of you.
So next Tuesday is Mardi Gras.
Yay.
Plenty of king cake has been had.
Yay.
Right? Which I know you're not doing and I shouldn't be doing.
No, okay, stop.
But plenty of king cake has been had.
Hold on. Put a pin in that.
Loblolly's good.
Right after I got off the treadmill.
You went and had a king cake?
Piece of king cake.
Well, look at you.
I know how to balance life.
So, Robert St. John has Loblolly, which I think is really good. And then, Jeff Good always sells king cakes.
Yes.
As well at all of his locations.
Broad Street has been.
Broad Street for a long, long time. Oh. Excellent stuff. If you're in the Jackson metro or near a Sullivan's grocery store, Sullivan's has got really good king cakes. But the granddaddy of Mississippi king cakes.
Tell him, Russ.
Is Paul's Pastry and Picayune.
We had them last year.
I don't care what anybody says.
They sent so many king cakes to us.
Really?
Last year, that was where we got our king cakes for the shows from.
Well, you can't get a heck of a lot better than that.
No, you cannot.
In Mississippi. I know like Gambino's is the old New Orleans thing. Give me a Paul's king cake any day of the week.
That was it.
It's also, and look, we're going to get to real topics. I want to talk about Bad Bunny today.
Well, that's the week is the week.
I want to talk about Epstein today.
Okay.
I want to talk about Minneapolis today.
Okay.
Savannah Guthrie.
There's a lot going on.
What's going on in the legislature? All this stuff has just been building up inside of me, Germaine, and I got to let loose. I will say this, though. If anybody wants to call or talk or whatever today,
let's get it.
You can do that, too. I'll argue with you, or I'll agree with you, or we can disagree agreeably.
That's right.
It don't matter. What's the number?
877 MPB ring. That's 1-877-672-7464.
So call in. Tell me what you want to talk about today. We can get to it. I will say this. The other thing that makes this time of year excellent, and I mean excellent, is crawfish are back.
Do they leave?
Well, they go away. I don't know exactly what they do.
They go down under the ground.
They go into holes, and they caucus with each other. Caucus.
They hibernate.
Yeah, and then, it gets a little warmer.
Yeah.
And they start coming out of the ground.
There it goes.
And some Cajun named Boudreaux goes down there.
Tasty.
And scoops them out of the rice fields and ships them all over the place.
Let's go.
But when I was a kid, again, dating myself, way back when.
Yeah, you were not.
Crawfish were like 69 cents a pound.
Okay.
Now it's about $9.99 a pound to get boiled crawfish.
That's the difference.
And it's because all these Yankees decided, and by Yankees I mean anybody north of I-10.
They like them.
All these Yankees decided that they liked crawfish too. And so now there are crawfish boils in Oxford and Nashville and all these. So
Are they scarce? Is that why the price is so high?
Well, it's one area of the country where you catch these things.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you got way more people who like crawfish now. But I will say this. My place in the central Mississippi area, and there are plenty of places on the coast, Toronto's, Bozo's, excellent places down on the coast. Sal and Phil's, right here in Ridgeland, Mississippi.
That's where my father used to love to go.
It was originally owned by two old New Orleans guys. But man, they do a great job with crawfish. So I've already had my fix just a little bit.
Go on.
I'm just gonna say.
You ready? Are you rearing up for Valentine's Day as well on Saturday?
Now you're getting personal. So let me tell you about my plan, Germaine.
Okay. It's between you and I.
Yeah. No, my wife and I always do something for Valentine's Day. We'll do something this year.
That's sweet.
Very frequently, I will cook because she likes my cooking and I like to cook, and it's easy. And but we always do something together. So we'll see how it turns out.
We need to have.
I'm a little upset though because normally the studio reflects.
I knew you were going to do it.
The time of year. So at Christmas it's all dolled up, and at Halloween it's all dolled up, and we've got Valentine's Day coming. And there's not a shred.
I have been so testy about, how what shows I decorate for and things like that. So I've been having to ask, but nobody said no. I just didn't want to jump the gun.
Nary an iota of proof.
But let me tell you
that Valentine's Day is upon us.
Russ, I am going to take a picture of tomorrow's studio if everybody tunes in to In Legal Terms and Next Stop Mississippi.
So you're going to decorate for the lawyers.
They're doing an episode called Lawyers in Love.
Oh. It's funny. It's funny you say that. My algorithm is weird, like on Facebook, so I get random stuff. And there have been a couple lawyers that have been popping up into my algorithm, and they're all like family lawyers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I have often thought, and maybe they can address this on Legal Terms tomorrow.
All right, Liz.
Yeah, if Liz is listening, consider this. I think the worst type of lawyer to be is a family lawyer. And I say this as someone who was a corporate defense lawyer for a long time, right?
Like Morgan & Morgan type family?
No, represents people in divorces and custody disputes.
Okay, got it.
Don't get me wrong. There's some excellent ones out there. But my theory has always been this. When I was representing corporate America and practicing law, if I made a mistake, no one was going to get really mad, show up drunk on my lawn.
Yeah.
If you are, however, a family lawyer.
You are in the family.
And let's say you're representing some woman against a man in a divorce proceeding, and it's contentious. And the end result is that he has to give half of his paycheck away and doesn't get to see his kids anymore. And, oh, by the way, also lost the love of his life.
Yeah.
That's how you get shot in the back.
They're coming knocking.
And I'm not saying this is a frequent occurrence.
They're coming a knocking.
I'm just saying the probability of that is higher.
Yeah.
If you're a family lawyer.
Yeah.
than if you were like me and you just represented really boring big companies.
Yeah, you're right. So, a little excitement there for the family lawyers, for sure.
Yeah. Now, if I was going to try and say the plus side is that there's a universe in which you can make really difficult situations better for people.
Yeah, there is.
So there's that.
There is. You're the great mediator in that sense.
Are you, and we really will get to serious topics after the break here, but are you watching the Winter Olympics at all?
No, I have not started. I have not. I've seen clips from news clips of, them walking in the introductory ceremony, but I haven't sat down.
So I watched the opening ceremony, and people don't know this looking at me, but
you were an Olympian.
Well, yes. I'm a world-class power lifter. Thanks for noticing, Germaine. No, but I'm Italian.
Okay.
And which, again, the blonde hair, blue eyes, and sounding like Foghorn Leghorn kind of throws that. But I am Italian, and I thought the Italians did an excellent job with the opening ceremony because as a guy that appreciates that culture, the Romans came up with roads and aqueducts and indoor plumbing and all sorts of cool things.
They did some good things.
They did some cool things. You may have heard this fascination that some people have with the Romans, but anyway, they did some really cool stuff. And then, the Medicis created modern banking. And then you've got the great artists. Puccini, as an example, wrote 39 operas in 19 years is sort of the high standard of that. The Sistine Chapel, these sorts of things.
They
Michelangelo.
Do big things.
All these, there's a tremendous history. Not to mention the food and the wine.
Okay.
And it's just a cool place. And I thought they did a good job showing all of those things. And there was no controversy like there was in Paris. I don't know if you remember the Paris opening ceremony.
The only thing I remember about Paris was everybody complaining about the beds. That's the only thing I remember. They were so mad at the
beds weren't any good?
The bed situation. They were on cardboard beds and makeshift mattresses. That's all I remember.
So hear me out on this. The big controversy with the opening ceremony was that they tried to stage sort of a Dionysian feast, but it also looked a lot like the Last Supper.
Oh,
and then there were questions about whether or not they were putting random things that aren't necessarily biblical into the Last Supper, and lots of people were mad. There were none of those controversies. Italy was just like, look at all the cool stuff we did for 3,000 years. You're welcome.
Come visit.
Come chill out. And it was kind of neat. It kind of felt wholesome.
Awesome.
So let's, when we get back from break, talk about something that maybe was more controversial than the opening ceremony. There was this thing called the Super Bowl.
That was more controversial than the Olympics, for sure.
Football teams got together to play. But in the middle of that game, which was a snooze fest, there was a concert.
It was an uneven game, for sure.
There was a concert, and people have thoughts.
I loved it.
And I want to share mine when we get back from break.
All right.
You're listening to The Sit Down with Russ Latino. We'll be right back.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
Hatred destroys the one who hates. The others that you hated, go on about their business. Care less.
So the legacy of Medgar Evers is an understanding of our own humanity and of our own responsibility of seeing that in other people.
He is written out of history. He's just not included as Malcolm and Martin. To me, it's the 3 M's, and Medgar is right up there at the lead.
Everlasting, Life and Legacy of Medgar Evers. Watch now on MPB Passport. Visit mpbonline.org for more.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
You're listening to The Sit Down right here on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday afternoon as you are probably driving home, preparing yourself maybe for church, maybe for a meal with the family, maybe for an outing. We are glad to be with you each and every week on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. and always glad to have my friend Germaine Flood in the booth with me. We're doing a little bit of a potpourri show today.
I love potpourri.
Well, let's back up for a second. Let's not call it a potpourri show. Let's say it's lagniappe because we're talking about Mardi Gras. We're talking about spring. We're talking about crawfish. Let's have a little lagniappe show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Give you a little something extra today. We were talking before the break about the fact that the Olympics and their opening ceremony were pretty tame compared to the rah-rah that was stirred up at the Paris Olympics just a couple of years ago. Of course, Los Angeles has the Summer Olympics coming up here in a couple of years. It is fascinating, the difference between the Summer and Winter Olympics. I think the Summer Olympics are far more interesting to most Americans.
They make it as such as well.
But, man, are the Winter Olympics way more dangerous. So the Summer Olympics are like, hey, we've got this group of really fast guys.
Strong people, too.
And they're going to run from here to there.
Yeah, A to B.
Right? And then we're gonna say who was the fastest of them.
Right.
And the Winter Olympics is like, hey, you're going to ski down a mountain with a rifle on your back. And when you get to the bottom of the mountain, you're going to shoot some stuff. And then you're going to run up the mountain with skis.
Yeah.
Or here's this little coffin-looking thing.
What is that, Russ?
And we're going to have 4 guys push this little coffin-looking thing.
Yeah.
And they're going to jump in the coffin.
Did you hear that everybody didn't jump in it?
The guy got missed?
Well, 3 of them.
So
One
there's
baby
the
he had to go
bobsled,
down
and then
by
there's the
himself.
luge.
I can't remember which one it was.
The bobsled is the coffin. The luge is even more dangerous because there's literally nothing around your body. You're just on a sled going 90 miles an hour through an ice tube.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze because it seems like these winter sports are not as popular, but way more dangerous.
No, you're right about that.
Way more dangerous. So anyway, set that aside. The Olympics opening ceremony was not controversial. The Super Bowl halftime show was controversial.
It should not have been, but yeah.
And look, well, we just like being mad these days. We like being mad about things.
About music.
So well, everything's a part of the culture war now. Like people, think about the Sydney Sweeney thing. Like suddenly Sydney Sweeney became like a right-wing darling and was hated by the left. And why? Because she was in a jeans commercial. Like, give me a freaking break.
Yeah.
Same sort, we just are trying to find ways to make things into right or left. It's like, oh, well, the sky is blue today. That's a conservative thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, the sky's just blue, sport. Yeah. Just chill out.
It's just the halftime show.
It's just music. So here's Russ's complicated, not complicated view. I had never heard of him until very recently, which I know makes me an extreme outlier.
That's okay.
I think a lot of people hadn't heard of him until recently, but he is the largest musical artist in the entire world. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like people being like, oh, soccer, whatever. And then you look at how many people love soccer and you're like, actually.
It's the number one sport.
It's the biggest thing in the whole world.
I mean,
that is this guy.
Yeah.
Right? That is this guy right now. And I have listened to some of his music. I don't really understand the words. I've looked at translations of them. Mm-hmm. Some of the songs are, shall we say, explicit.
Yeah, he's like the hip hop or the pop.
He's just a smidge sexual.
Yeah.
In the things that he talks about. So, like, I get why there are some people that would look at it and be like, from a content standpoint, like, is this what we want in the middle of something that is very family-oriented? Get that argument. I think the argument on the flip side, if you're the NFL, is, to me, it makes good business sense. If you're the NFL, you're looking at it, you're going, we've already got some hardcore fans in the United States. And it's almost like Donald Trump saying he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a vote.
Yeah.
The NFL has the type of fans that I think by and large are like, even if I don't like the halftime show, I'm going to keep watching NFL football because it is part of my identity. It's what I do on Sundays and Thursdays and Mondays and, almost every day of the week now it seems like they've moved a game to. So that's there. And then you're looking at it if you're the NFL and you're going, well, like, we tried to get into Europe. Like, they play the game in the United Kingdom and it never really took off. So if you're them, you're going, what is the market that's most likely a place that we can draw new fans?
Right.
Right? Because their plan is not to stay the same size. They're huge.
Yeah.
Like every other business, they want to be bigger.
Right.
And someone like Mr. Bunny.
I love that. You're so respectful.
Mr. Bunny. Bad Bunny Benito. Someone like him has the ability to transcend into new audiences. And for people in this country that are Hispanic or Latino, not me because I'm Italian with the last name of Latino.
You told us.
But for people who happen to be from Central and South America and have family from Central and South America, that was a really big cultural moment for them.
It was.
And I will just say this, like not understanding anything he said. The beat is good. It makes you kind of happy to listen to. And I thought the set.
Yeah, production was.
The production value of that
it was
thing
great.
Was off the chain. Do people still say off the chain? Have I just dated myself as a 90s kid?
No, don't worry. I'm with you on the chain.
It was off the chain good. Like the sugar cane, the
people,
barrio.
Everybody was dressed as grass. People were grass.
Yeah. Those folks got paid a couple $1,000s to stand around and look like sugar cane.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had like a traditional barrio, and you had these like cafe settings and that wedding was a real wedding.
Yeah.
Like those people actually got married. We had this debate at my house because I looked at my wife and I said, I think those people are actually getting married. And she was like, you're an idiot, which she frequently says and very often is accurate.
Yes.
But it turns out
you were right.
That on this night,
you were right.
The idiot was right. She didn't actually call me an idiot. She'd be mad if she heard me say that. Aww. She did think that I was not correct, though.
Yeah.
So I think that that by and large people just need to chill out because the reaction to that online was like, and I would say chill out from both angles. Like there were some people who were like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my gosh, this is the most American expression ever. It gives me the tingles down my legs.
Yeah.
No, it was just a concert. And on the other side, it's like, oh my gosh, the communists have won.
Because of it just because of it being.
Just like, chill out. Like,
well, let me squash all of this. The best Super Bowl performance there ever was Prince when it rained. And it was not planned in the Super Bowl for it to rain, and he played Purple Rain during the rain. That's the best one. We can just squash all the
I think Prince is certainly up there.
We can just squash all the rest.
I think Prince is certainly up there.
You cannot cue a natural weather event on time.
Well, plus Prince was just obscenely talented. Obscenely talented, right? Like, you talk about like the great guitarist of all times, right. And people will talk about Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and all of these guys.
Right.
And I got to tell you that Prince was as good on the guitar as any of it. Just so happened that he could also sing.
Yeah.
So I think some people view him as just like an entertainer. Dude was a legitimate maestro on the guitar.
I mean, outside of Beyonce and Whitney Houston, he is number one for me.
So Whitney Houston was far and away the best ever at the Star Spangled Banner, right? The national anthem.
Right.
nobody's ever come close. Let me just say this to wrap up on the Bad Bunny situation. Mr. Bunny. Mr. Bunny.
Mr. Bunny.
You don't make me angry. I don't know why you make so many people as angry as you do. No, here's what I would say. It's like we are in as a society. Here's the serious point I wanted to make.
Okay.
We as a society are in this cycle, this downward spiral, where we have to find something to be pissed off about every single day. And it's like we devote like a full day of just, I can't believe they did this, about things that have zero impact on our life. I could have thought that was the worst Super Bowl halftime performance of my life, and it wasn't going to change one damn thing the next day.
Okay.
So here's my riff. Quit allowing yourself to be pissed off about something new every day because you are in a cycle of self-destructive thought. There's so much good stuff going on in the world that you don't have to be mad all the time. You hear me? Will that preach?
I mean, you better.
We'll go. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Sit Down with Russ Latino. We're going to be back in just a minute.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
You're listening to Sit Down right here on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino. It is a good Wednesday to be alive. I'm glad to be alive.
Me too.
It's getting warm outside. We went through that really cold weather. I'm sure we're going to have a little bit more before the end of this thing called
I'm crossing
winter.
fingers for summer.
But man, it has felt nice. I am decked out in purple and fleur-de-lis. As I said at the beginning of the program, an outfit that no grown man should ever wear.
It looks
But
nice.
I'm going to wear it with pride because we're coming up on Mardi Gras, gosh darn it, and I love this time of year.
Head over to YouTube if you'd like to see Russ's shirt.
If you'd like to see just how bad my tacky shirt is, you can see it on YouTube. It's there. So yeah, I was saying before the break, I think we should all chill out a little bit, maybe not be as mad about things as we allow ourselves to get. Some of that is tied up in kind of what I was alluding to as well, which is like Germaine, we want to put everything in our lives into a box. And that box for a lot of people is, does this align with my political beliefs or not? And if it aligns with my political beliefs, then it must be great. And if I decide it doesn't align with my political beliefs, then it must be horrible. And that sort of framework ends up with a lot of hypocrisy and inconsistency. It also ends up with us losing pieces of our humanity. And I want to use a very specific example of this. We talked about the Olympics earlier. Savannah Guthrie was supposed to be covering the Olympics. Obviously, her mother was kidnapped. Horrible situation. She's not able to cover the Olympics. But I have seen, and I'm not gonna suggest that this is a mainstream thought, because anybody that's listened to me for any length of time knows that I'm conservative. They also know that I like to call a spade a spade when I think that people within sort of my way of thinking are acting in a way that I think is inappropriate. But there are some people within the conservative movement right now who say things, like Rob Reiner is another good example of this. Like, their view as to whether or not a bad thing happening to a person is something that justifies or warrants their empathy and sympathy is that person's political alignment. And so I saw a post yesterday about Savannah Guthrie, and the very beginning of the post was, Savannah Guthrie is a pawn of the Democrats, and I really don't like her, but we can all admit that what's happening to her mother is horrible. And my thought process was, if your form of empathy requires that kind of qualification, then you have engaged in political idolatry, because your identity is now entirely subsumed by this, are they on my team or are they not on my team thing, versus a realization that you can disagree with people in good faith and simultaneously recognize when something horrible has happened to somebody that you disagree with, and not feel the need to be like, I normally hate this person, but in this instance, I don't. It's okay to just feel bad that this woman's mother was kidnapped, right?
Right.
And I would say the same thing happens on the fringe with the left. I mean, if you looked at the Charlie Kirk situation, you did see people legitimately celebrating his death. And that's not everybody, and I'm not going to impute that onto everybody. But there is this thing where our politics have gotten to be so much of our identity that we've lost what I would say is just like basic humanity.
Well, the question that I have is for the person who made the post, what made Nancy not your favorite? Like, she was a journalist who sat very much in the middle of news. So I get that you're trying to throw the subtle shade, but the real question is what made you not a Nancy fan?
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people think Savannah Guthrie probably.
A Savannah.
No, I know what you meant. Nancy's her mom.
A Savannah Guthrie fan. What makes you not a Savannah Guthrie fan because of this situation? I think it's just because of the fact that Savannah possibly covered a story that went against your politics. Maybe.
I mean, look, I think there are a lot of people who would probably look at her reporting or history of reporting and sort of pigeonhole her as being left of center. To me, that's irrelevant. What's relevant is that as a human being, I hate that what is happening to her is happening to her, because nobody should go through that.
That's for sure.
And, I think I saw other posts like Nancy Guthrie, her mom, had made several political posts over the years, talking about how Trump and Trump acolytes should be in jail and things of that nature. Rob Reiner made similar comments. Like, I don't care. Like, I might disagree with that perspective. But I'm looking at it and going, okay, they held political beliefs that I didn't necessarily hold, or they framed things in ways that I wouldn't have framed them. That doesn't change the fact that something horrible happened to them that is in no way justified by the political disagreement.
Right.
And so I just think at some level, I don't know how to shake this or how to make people think differently than what they're thinking. But it's really problematic. And I would say this. I wanted to talk about Minneapolis back when this happened, right, with the Alex Preddy situation and Renee Good. And It just so happened that I think that week maybe the governor was covering something. It might have been the ice storm or something, which obviously we needed to cover.
Yeah.
But very similar reaction to what happened in Minneapolis. And I would look at that and say, you had a situation in Minneapolis where for a lot of people, ICE agents were there, Border Patrol agents were there doing their jobs. And then for a lot of other people, it felt like they were being invaded, right? And so depending on who you talk to, you'd get very strong feelings with people who would say, we think that the ICE agents were there exercising their legal duty. It is, in fact, a crime to be in this country illegally. They do, in fact, have the right to apprehend people who are in this country illegally. So there are certainly people who would look at that and say, we support what they're doing in Minneapolis and in lots of other cities across the country. And then simultaneously, there are people who look at it and say, this is too heavy-handed, this is out of control, bad things are happening, this is not local law enforcement, are these people properly trained? All of those things, I think, between those two sides are legitimate debate. Legitimate debate. I think where it gets really difficult is when you watch someone get shot in cold blood. And there is this massive rush, both directions, to frame what happened. And so the government came out right after Alex Peretti got shot and said that he was essentially brandishing a weapon, that he had been in this physical altercation with the agents, that they felt for their safety. There were statements that he was there to cause mass carnage and mass killing, which all of those statements were entirely speculative. Entirely speculative. There was no indication given then or now that he went to that site for the purpose of injuring law enforcement in any way. He happened to be carrying a legal handgun. There certainly was no indication when you look at the video that he ever brandished the weapon or showed the weapon, or really that the agents knew that the weapon existed until the point that he was down on his hands and knees and an agent took it from his waistband before he was ever shot. So I think you can look at that situation and there's a legal standard and there's a what should have happened standard. And the legal standard for the use of deadly force is whether or not a law enforcement officer believes that they are an imminent threat of severe bodily injury. That's the legal standard. And so it's not hard to imagine a scenario in which you've got chaos unfolding, a guy down on the ground, he was in fact resisting. You could argue that if you were getting hit in the head with a can of pepper spray, you might also be resisting. But he was resisting. It's not hard to imagine a scenario in which an agent yells gun or says gun, 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 and without knowing that the other agent had taken the gun, the thing happens the way it happened. So legally, you can look at that and say, there is a strong probability that if that agent was ever prosecuted for this, he would in fact have a valid defense. Set that part aside for a second. There is something entirely different as to can and should. And the should was this, that if you watch that thing unfold the way it unfolded, at every step, those ICE agents had the ability to de-escalate. And not once did they, right? They're pushing women across the street. They're pushing a woman down in the snow. It very much looks like Alex Peretti decides to get between the woman and the agent to protect them, right? That he's doing what a lot of Southern gentlemen have probably been taught to do. If you see a woman being hurt or being pushed around, was it smart? No, it wasn't smart. It's not smart to ever engage with law enforcement, particularly not if you're carrying a weapon. It's not. That doesn't justify a killing, though. And so you look at these factors and you go, maybe legally there's a defense there, but there were several moments in that entire engagement where if the officer had behaved the way law enforcement is taught to behave, that situation was avoidable, that he didn't need to die. So that's my perspective. There are going to be people who say, I'm going to support law enforcement no matter what they do. There are going to be people who say, I'm going to hate law enforcement no matter what they do. I think it's really hard to judge what law enforcement does with, slow-mo videos from 15 different angles after the fact. And I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. But watching that scenario, I couldn't help but to think the training here is the problem, because there are lots of things that should have never happened here. And that guy should still be alive. But even if you disagree with me on that, and this was the point that I wanted to make, even if you disagree with that, regardless of how you come down on it, the reaction to a human being dying should not be to vilify that human being. Was this guy Antifa? Maybe. Was he an instigator? Maybe. Was he an agitator? Maybe. You know what? None of those things are things that allow for a death penalty. They're just not, right? You arrest them for being an agitator. You arrest them for resisting. You arrest them for 2 weeks prior kicking a vehicle that he shouldn't have kicked. That's very different than using those instances of bad behavior that in most cases would be misdemeanors and then saying because of this, he deserved what he got. Now, you can still say that he put himself in a bad situation, that he didn't exercise wisdom in how he engaged. But that is very, very different, in my opinion, than this sort of rush to say this guy deserved what he got or Renee Good deserved what she got. And it gets back to this thought process that we are losing our essential humanity as a people, right? And so I share all of that to say that maybe we should just love each other a little bit more. And maybe we should show each other grace a little bit more. And maybe the first tendency should not be, is this person on my team or not? Maybe the first tendency should be, is what's happening right now right or not? Because I think we'd be in a much better place if that was the tendency. I think we're also about to figure out that the American people absolutely wanted the border to be shut down. Like they wanted the mass migration that was coming across the border that seemed out of control to be brought back into control. I think we're about to find out, though, as midterms come up, that the American people did not, in fact, want to see the type of things that they've seen in Minneapolis. That at some level, there is a miscalculation of intensity, right? Most people want to be sure that people coming into this country are not bringing drugs, are not criminals, or don't represent a threat, right? Those are all legitimate reasons to be concerned about immigration policy. That is very, very different than the level of intensity that I think we're seeing, and I think it's going to backfire in a pretty dramatic way. I mean, I would say the same thing about the economics, right? Like, people wanted to see prices brought down. Like, they saw massive inflation throughout Joe Biden's presidency, and they wanted to see prices brought down. I don't necessarily think they signed up for all the tariffs and all of that other stuff, right? And so it seems that this happens, and it's not just that it happens on one side of the political spectrum, but like politicians have this incredible knack for deciding that because they got elected, what the people wanted was the most extreme version of themselves. And in reality, I think most Americans, the ones that you don't see on social media, are relatively calm, and they just kind of want things to work.
When did the political bedside manner, though, get pushed to the side? Do you know, like, when that happened? Yeah. I just remember being a child and you knowing that possibly they had, let's just say, certain things they went against. But we didn't know for sure, and they didn't put it on Front Street the way they're doing now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, they used to duel with each other in the streets. I mean,
10 steps that way. Yeah.
I mean, Andrew Jackson had bullets throughout his body from dueling.
Right.
So I think sometimes the nostalgia can work against us, that we start to think that people were like really good in the past. And
yeah, you might be right.
This is where my Presbyterian Calvinist tendencies come in. We're all totally depraved, Germaine. And so it's literally the first letter of TULIP. But so I would say that certainly decorum has gone out the window when you think about the kind of decorum that you might see from the Bush family or, even the Obama family, like the way that they sort of wanted to conduct themselves within social norms.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that people kind of got tired of regular politics, though. I think there was almost a sense, and here's where I think Trump did hit on something or has hit on something. There was a sense that like all of these people, Team Red and Team Blue, are actually playing the American people for suckers. And they might have great decorum and great presentation, but it really is just all an exploitation.
Yeah.
And I think that vibe exists on both sides of the political spectrum. And you get a guy like Donald Trump that comes along and he's like, yeah, this is all BS. He basically calls it, says, oh, these people have just been taking advantage of you. And there's a whole bunch of people that are inclined to believe that. And the authenticity is part of the draw, or the perceived authenticity is part of the draw. I think this is my vantage point or my viewpoint. In my ideal world, it's possible to recognize that political power corrupts and that it has been used in a corrupt way that very frequently does not advantage regular people, and simultaneously to expect a level of decency
at the same time
in the way that we engage.
Yeah.
So, do we have to take a break?
No, you keep going.
We'll keep going then. We've got just a few minutes left. So I think my answer to your question would be that I don't think that we ever were as nice as you maybe.
Well, that's why. Well, I think the nice had, it was the mean was undersurface. The nice was on top. Now it's just, you just be who you are all the way now.
Yeah.
Just, if you're a politician, you don't like it, you say you don't like it. But in my opinion, if you don't like it, you still should play the game. But I guess now we're going back into the playing of the game.
I think we've also reached this point where solutions have become really hard. Like we've allowed ourselves to get into such trouble as a nation. And we got a $40 trillion debt as a nation, right? And nobody seriously wants to fix that. I think it's the biggest problem in our country, biggest security risk in our country. But nobody wants to stop spending. They want to spend more. And so instead of trying to solve the problem, it's a whole lot easier to point fingers. This was always my argument with Jackson Mayor Chokwe Lumumba when he was mayor, was that he had decided, there are all these problems that I don't know how to fix. And so I'm going to blame other people for them. That's not to say that there aren't other people that bear some responsibility. But I think the political game now, at some level, is to say, I don't know how to fix this big problem. And I can't build the coalition necessary to fix this big problem. But I sure as hell can point over there and say, look at those sorry sons of guns that have made this problem worse.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we are as a nation. I don't know how to fix it other than to suggest, and here's where it comes back on the American people. The American people would have to take politics and elections more seriously.
That's what I was going to ask. What do you think is going to happen in the fall?
And when I say more seriously, I don't mean be angrier, because anger doesn't solve anything.
Right.
I mean, it may motivate you temporarily. It doesn't solve problems. To me, it means actually understanding the issues. And it means a willingness, John F. Kennedy famously said, ask not what your country can do for you, but for what you can do for your country. That mentality is gone. So to solve the big problems, like if we really wanted to make sure that our kids and our grandkids lived in America with the same opportunities that we've had, we would care about the national debt, but it requires us making sacrifices in our own life. Like our generation and older would need to be willing to say, I'm willing to take a little bit less for me in order to make sure that things are still there for them. We all say that's what we want. It's for the next generation. It's for the next generation. But by golly, do anything that looks like, hey, we'd have to adjust benefits to make sure that these programs remain solvent. And suddenly the next generation don't matter so much anymore. And so let me say this. Like I think millennials and Generation Z get a bad rap. I think it's easy for people like me and people older than me to be like, oh, those millennials are entitled and self-centered and blah, 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 blah. I think there are an awful lot of people who are my age and older that are as entitled, if not more entitled, than that generation. And that generation's looking at it going like, you guys have all the wealth, all
we
the
ain't
property,
got nothing.
and we ain't got none of it, and you're calling us entitled, right? I mean, and this is not me pitching redistribution, because I don't believe in that. It is me saying that if you bake the game in a way to protect yourself from competition, you can't then get mad when people are like, hey, I've been left out of the game, right? There's a difference between saying, let's have a meritorious system where people go out and bust their ass, and that's what decides where they are, how successful they are, whatever, and saying, you know what, instead what we're going to do is we're going to create a series of laws that make it so that no one can ever compete with us. And then we're going to turn around and tell millennials they're all selfish and entitled.
So I got to have you forecast what you think is going to happen in the midterm.
Oh, I mean, look, if I had to predict it, I would say that I think that Republicans will lose Congress. They may not lose the Senate. I think they probably lose the U.S. House of Representatives. There are too many people that voted for 2024 with the expectation that it was going to be, we're going to close the border, we're going to get prices down, those things, but not sort of this everyday feeling of chaos.
This has gotten kind of wild now.
And so, I've got to believe that there's going to be some punishment doled out in response to that. Texas may be a good example of this. They had a special election for a seat where Donald Trump had won that district by, I think, 12 or 13 points, and then it swung 30 points.
Louisiana had something the other day, didn't it?
And so, whether or not that stuff is a bellwether or not, we'll see. But I think historically you would expect the party in power to lose midterms. That's what normally happens anyway. I think that there's a chance that it ends up being bigger. Now, that being said, I have been a world-class failure at predicting what will happen since Donald Trump has gotten onto the political scene. I have. I've not been good at it. Every time I think one thing's going to happen, it goes the other direction.
That's it, Russ.
So, anyway, this has been fun.
This has. I like the Lanyap.
Lanyap. It's a Lanyap show. Sit Down is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting, Think Radio, funded by generous contributions from listeners just like you. Today's show was produced by the ever-wonderful Germaine Flood, with live stream production by Abram Nanny, maybe Marissa back there as well. And Java, the whole team back there. I'm Russ Latino. Join us here next Wednesday at 4 p.m. for a new episode of The Sit Down, heard only on MPB Think Radio. And go get you some crawfish, for God's sake.
Y'all better get out there.
Have a good one.
Laissez bon temps roulé.